Hello, my name's Michael Conneely, and here's a quite wonderful video about the energies of the December full moon and how you can work with them and be helped by them. I list some must-know key factors. The energies I'm referring to, of course, are in the charts for the full moon, in both Vedic and Western astrology, plus the ephemeris of the month, and they're in my Star Wheel Astrology website. So the charts for each month are under the More drop-down in monthly astrology charts, and then go to December 2025. So you'll see, really detailed charts to back up what I'm saying. So the key must know and must work with energies are, well, I mention two key energies first. Really crucial to know about if they aspect planets in your chart and for the houses in your chart that they occupy. We can work with these, and indeed they're huge. Get a reading from me about how they affect you and how you can work with them. I mean, there's different ways of working with planetary energies. I draw a tarot card and a rune every Saturday for guidance on my progress. And then I do a shamanic journey to go deeper. And then I use a Norse practice called Sedna to cement in the key needed decision and intention from the intuitions of the work I've done. What do you do? Well, believe me, there's really good energies to work with in this full moon if they cross-relate to, the planetary positions in your charts. And have a reading from me if you want to identify your best key methods. So here, first of all, are the two key energies if these planets are affecting you and your chart. So number one is Uranus conjunct Sedna, asteroid Sedna, the terrible energy of asteroid Sedna. Dreadful if it affects one of your planets, need to know. The violent and revolutionary Uranus conjunct Sedna is opposition Lilith in the heavens, the energies which are held in our unconscious and our shadow side. So that's really important to know about opposition if it affects planets in your chart. And of course how it affects the house in your chart that they occupy. The healing, empowerment and growth work potential is really considerable. And the second key energy I'd pick out is that Chiron is conjunct Aries. Chiron, existential wound energy, is conjunct angry, irritated Aries, where woundedness cries out for strength and healing. See my recent video about this. And the so important thing to know is that both Chiron and Aries are both in the depth of the immateriality, unsupportedness, Gandanta zone, the water sign to fire sign transition, where Vedic Pisces transitions into Vedic Aries. And so if this energy is affecting you, you will feel unsupportedness. But if you know about it and do the work and the learning, that can give you great opening to the divine. That's if we're aware of that and if we do the work with that. The healing and empowerment and growth work of working with Chiron conjunct Aries is so important to know about and work with now. It can give you great strength if you know about it and do the work. Have a reading from me if either of these two conjunctions affects you. And please be aware, in my readings and my many astrology courses, I always combine your Vedic and your Western astrologies. And I can cross-refer, if needed, to Shamanic Healing and to psychological astrology as well. And incidentally, I do have a postgraduate psychology degree. Okay, so let's look at the energies of the moon and the sun in this full moon, which of course affects everyone. Well, the full moon. The moon is at 18 degrees sidereal Taurus in Rohini Nakshatra, the wonderful 27 lunar signs of Vedic astrology, the nakshatras. And so the moon, being in Taurus and especially Rohini Nakshatra, has an energy of desires and pleasure, domination and comfort, artistic and imperious, and can be smiley, loving energy. And in the Western tropical zodiac, this is 13 degrees Gemini. Now, we'll all, of course, feel this energy, but not to disregard the huge energies working in the background, two of which I've just mentioned. So that's the moon of the full moon. The sun of the full moon is at 18 Vedic Scorpio. Indeed, Scorpio primarily, of course, is death and rebirth energy. And it's so important to know if you or I are called to undergo a death and rebirth energy transition now. It's needed. It can be wonderful when you've gone through it and experienced the outcome. And in the Western tropical zodiac, the sun is at 13 Western Gemini. So at the emotional self level of Western astrology, this is, of course, communicational and air energy. Okay, having looked at what I would describe as the two key energies and then the energies of the full moon, let's go on to a few other very needed to know about energies. And one of them is the super long running Uranus-Pluto-Neptune trine. And at the moment, it's a Uranus-Pluto-Neptune-Saturn trine because there's a Saturn-Neptune conjunction. We need to know about the background energy of revolutionary Uranus, connecting with death and rebirth Pluto, where each of these are sextile the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. Will the energy of the Saturn-Neptune conjunction give form to your dreams? Will it infuse your life pathways and structures with your dreams? Will it? Will it? Bringing in, of course, revolution, Uranus, death and rebirth into power, Pluto. I'd also mention that Mars is also in a Gandanta zone. There are 3 Gandanta zones. They're the 3 water to fire sign transitions of Vedic astrology. Areas of huge immateriality, but with potential for huge connection and going beyond this world to connection with the divine. And the Gandanta zone that Mars is in is known as a Bhukta Mula. And it can give great openings to the divine, but can have huge problems for worldly manifestation, particularly if it's the moon, particularly if it's a woman's chart. So be careful not to let your Mars lose his oomph, his power, his direction in weakness or diversion because, he's in the Gandanta zone. But check instead if you're being called to channel your Mars energy into some sort of divine perception or inspiration now. Note that and work with it. And as a final point, I'd just mention that Jupiter is at top strength at the moment of this full moon. And be aware and be open to the fact that Jupiter brings blessing and sense of purpose and connection to the divine. You see, Jupiter is retrograding from Vedic Cancer into Vedic Gemini, and Jupiter's currently at 0 degrees 2 minutes Vedic Cancer. And you can see from the ephemeris on my December month page in my Star Wheel Astrology website that Jupiter actually crosses into Vedic Gemini on December the 6th. But use the strength of Jupiter that's available to each of us at the moment, blessing, sense of purpose, connection to the divine. So let's each of us do the work to connect to the energies of this full moon, ideally on the day of the full moon and certainly on each of the days following. This time, wonderful gifts are on offer to each of us, provided we know the Vedic and Western defined energies, and especially if those energies which I've just listed connect to planets in your chart, and how, of course, they affect the houses in your chart, and especially if you make space for the work and manifest the intentions. So as I said, you can get a reading from me via my Star Wheel Astrology website. You can combine my astrology and shamanic healing in the shamanism page on my Druid Forest School website. And of course, there's the wonderful work of the healers and psychic readers on my Love Star Dating website. That's for those who are on a spiritual journey, who are seeking love. www.lovestardating.com. So I hope this quite profound summary will be of real help to you and benefit you and your life now. Thank you.